adoption of the agenda.
Awesome. Saeed made a motion. Who wants a second?
Go for a second.
Awesome. All in favor said aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Awesome. The adoption of the agenda has been passed. Moving to open business. Who has seen I've sent out the minutes from the previous meeting through YouTube. Who wants to adopt the minutes?
Hi, Eric, make a motion to adopt the minutes for the last meeting.
Awesome. Eric made a motion. Who wants a second?
Seconded by Shi.
Awesome. Seconded by Xian. All in favor said aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion to adopt the agenda has passed. Moving on to open gallery, media, public comments related or not related to the agenda. You may go. Okay, we're going to be moving on to guest speakers. So President Justin, you have the floor. You can speak with all the amendments that you sent me. If you haven't seen the email, there are 4 amendments that Justin is going to explain, and he has the floor.
Yeah, the first amendment I want to discuss is the judicial branch amendment bill. The previous version of this did pass LSC. However, there were some questions by the council. A couple of council members, one, I think Tori Works, she was more interested in moving it towards a mediation style. Bill has been changed to move it towards a mediation style. The same procedures, though, are still in place now for if the court is needed. Because as discussed in the previous one, we decide about one case every 3 to 4 years. It doesn't make a lot of sense to run stipends for the associate justices that whole time. And so the way in which a case would work under the bill, if there is a dispute, is whoever would file the complaint, and then the court would have to come up with 2 associate justices. And the previous bill, the 2 associate justices were just selected by council chair and president. However, in this bill, the new associate justices would be chosen from the council or the executive branch. And they would be chosen by the parties, by defendant and plaintiff. They would agree to who the associate justice would be that are on the council or in the executive branch, and then they would be put into place for that case. And overall, I think this will help GPSA save money in the long term, will help clean up the judicial stipends, which are weird in that essentially currently we are paying about $3,000 to $4,000 per associate justice per case over like 4 years, which is a lot of money for something that's just not happening. The associate justice slots they're kind of like a sad slot right now, in that you get appointed associate justice and there's about a 75% chance nothing will happen. So ultimately this did pass last time, and I think now the way in which it's built does help bring in a bit more council participation, and it also helps make it so that the parties will fulfill as though it's not just some random court that was appointed by the executive or council or whoever. It'll let be something, there'll be people who they have a choice. And yeah, people might pick their best friend on council or whatever, but you still have the chief justice, you still have the other party's justice to balance it out and try to come up with a fair and equitable resolution. So I think that makes a lot of sense for making sure that the associate justices just are put into reserve, as I would like to call it. That way, we can better run the judicial branch and use it when it is necessary. Are there any questions or comments regarding the bill? Yes, Wilfred.
Yeah, so, as you did indicate, I believe that this is a lot clearer, compared with what we had the previous time. So I really appreciate what we're trying to do. My only, I don't know how to say it, like, reservation, yes, I think that's the word, is how we're gonna choose the associate justice. Because yes, I get that we don't really anticipate some strange, disputes to happen. It will just be within the context of students, engagement. However, we also want to be careful in a way that we don't set a precedent, because I don't anticipate that we're going to change this bill anytime soon, right? So I guess my difficulty is, why is a disputing party going to select somebody to adjudicate the case? And then in the bill, we say that the associate justices should not have any material conflict of interest. So how do we disentangle having a no conflict of interest as against being appointed by a disputing party? And then it says that in a case where the people, like the plaintiff and the other party, decide not to select associate justice, then the president and then the council chair will recommend. What if actually the case is coming from either of these individuals, being the president or the council chair? How do we do that? Because it is my considered opinion that we should allow the court to run. Yes, we don't. So we have our chief justice, and then as and when it becomes necessary, we have associate justices. But I believe that this is novel to me. What I know is that normally the chief justice impanels the court members. So that is the little difficulty I have with the bill. Other than that, I'm all for it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let's start with the material conflict of interest. That is a clause that's designed to prevent a associate justice from ruling on their own case, or chief justice from ruling on their case. So, for example, associate justice couldn't be like, the person I choose to represent myself on the court is myself, party. They can't choose that person. So that's what that one does. And as for the whole parties choosing it, this moves more towards a mediation model. Mediation models have been up and coming in the courts around the world for quite a while now. Mediation courts do decide millions of dollars of cases every day. If you work for any major company, they're going to make you sign an arbitration or mediation clause. Most guaranteed. So it kind of moves it towards that model to see how it will work. It is also a weird thing though, because as I said, we only have so many cases and they are limited to student government. So I think that this, for the time being, would be a good opportunity to experiment. And I'm sure in 3 or 4 years, when there's another case, they'll have an idea as to how this works, really, this is a bit difficult. There is one other way in which we can make this work a bit better. And I would be willing to draft a bill for this, or to try and, like, if the fee increase passes, include money in the budget for this, and that would be to require that the chief justice conducts 1 mock trial per year. At least that way we could actually sort through that, and we could actually just do that as a mock trial and have it before them to see how it works out. I think that's a way in which we can kind of troubleshoot some of these issues in the future. But as is, I think this will actually be good for the time being. There are a lot of unknowns in this just because we have so few cases. I think the only way we can really troubleshoot the issues is going to be the trial. Otherwise, we're just kind of operating in a vacuum of speculation and conjecture, which we already kind of do just because we have so few cases. So I think I'm willing to like create a bill to do that other thing. But I think that would probably be fine within the bylaws, and there's enough time to do that when we leave it for the next administration. I think the Chief Justice do a mock trial at least on some issue, to like help create a problem. But yeah, I think that's that for that bill. Does anyone else have any questions about it?
I have, Maya, she raised up her hand. Maya, you have the floor.
Thank you. I think there is a typo. I'm trying to look on your screen to see if it's up there. Okay, so it's on this is line 88, number 5. It says if either of the parties does nominate, I think it's supposed to say does not, right? Then it goes to the council chair and the president.
Yes.
Okay.
So make a motion.
Yeah, so Wilfred made the motion to correct line 88.5.
Awesome. Wilfred made a motion to correct line 88, line 5, line 5 to add not between does and nominates. Who wants to second that? Awesome. Shane second. All in favor? All opposed? Awesome. The motion did pass. Awesome. Line 88 has the has not between does and nominate. Awesome. Now that you had a question?
Yes, I just need a bit clarification. So with line 98, I see that we canceled that motion and I don't know if we try to, is that same thing we are trying to break down into line 100 and 101, 1 and 2. So
Yes.
my question is, what is the difference between financial payment, as we want to indicate here, and stipend?
Yeah, when I broke that out, my main goal was to put together that the Chief Justice shall have their financial statement, but shall have a financial payment. So the Chief Justice is as a slot in GPSA does receive a stipend. However, I do want to differentiate that the Associate Justices also.
I
receive
think
stipend.
your microphone is very low. It's hard hearing you.
I'm not talking towards the owl. That's the problem. I'm looking at the thing, but not talking at the owl. There we go. Yeah, I'm basically trying to distinguish the Associate Justice payment from the Chief Justice payment. The Associate Justice stipends would be commensurate, which basically means proportional to the time and difficulty of the case or dispute they serve on. So I just want to ensure that we are aware that the payment between Chief Justice and Associate Justice will be a bit different. Because the Chief Justice the Chief Justice is available year round for GPSA, and the Associate Justices are confined to the case or matter of dispute.
Okay, yeah, I get it, but I'm just concerned about if we can be consistent in the use of words, because essentially they are all going to take financial compensation for the services they are going to render. So I was thinking if we could be a bit consistent with using one word that basically describes that both of them would be receiving financial something compensation. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point. We could remove stipend and put in financial payment there.
Does anyone want to make a motion? I have Rebecca. Yeah, your hands
Hi.
up.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, how do we define like what would be like the amount paid? So you say the associate justice shall receive a stipend. So how do we, because this is like just big, shall receive a stipend. So how do we define what that is on? Like what would be the basis for defining how much? Is it that it's like each administration that will decide what they want to pay, or what?
I think the way in which I envision this working is the associate justices with the next bill that will coming up here that will introduce timesheets. They would keep timesheets as the amount of time they worked on the case. And then the council and or the executive branch or whoever has the money for, actually it'd be the judiciary. The judiciary would have money allocated to it in this bill. And then the chief justice would determine a reasonable hourly rate and then produce financial payment to whoever is serving as an associate justice, based upon the amount of hours worked and the difficulty of the case.
So that means like there'll be a dollar amount tied to each hour, right?
Yes, in the next,
So who defines the amounts? That's like what I want to know. Oh, it's $10, it's $20. What conditions would define the amount that they'll get paid per hour?
currently, it would just be the administration or the chief justice. However, I do have another bill pending, which is going to define the amount that stipend should get per hour at $20 per hour. So I think that that would govern if that passes. Currently, it would basically just be the chief justice that would decide, but if the next bill on the list passes, might not be the next one, it's the one after. So if the one afterwards passes, then it would be $20 per hour. But currently it would just be whoever the chief justice is, if this is just in a vacuum.
Awesome. I have Eric raised his hand up. Eric, you have the floor.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Justin. So my question is this, I'm concerned about, not that I'm concerned, I just want to understand. In 95.6, it said that an associate justice shall serve no more than 2 cases or disputes per academic year. What if in a case we had more than 2 cases? Are you going to employ a different or another associate justice, or the chief justice will take over?
It would basically be that a party would not be able to nominate, parties would not be able to nominate more than one person on the council or in the executive branch more than twice per year. So, for example, it would make sense to just like, it's part of the goal of this is also to help bring a bit more diverse experiences to the council, the executive branch, whoever, versus just having the same people be associate justice forever if things ever did become very litigious. But I don't see that happening, but just in case it's there.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions or want to make an motion to change anything in this bill?
Yeah, I think we want to change the stipend language to financial payment.
Okay. Someone will have to make an motion. Does anyone want to make an motion to, and this is
101.
What change 101?
Yes, so I will first make the motion to change the language stipend to financial payment or line 101 to commensurate with line 100.
Anyone want to second that? That's Wilfred making a motion to change line 101, change the stipend commission to financial payment.
Seconded by me, Eric.
Awesome. Seconded by Eric. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Awesome. The motion to change line 101, the Skyping commission to a financial payment has passed. Let me change that right now.
Grandma. Dada. Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Other motions to change anything for this bill? Does anyone want to make a motion to vote on the bill?
Okay. Eric, okay, make a motion to vote the bill.
Awesome. Eric made a motion to vote on the bill. Who wants a second?
Wilfred second.
Awesome. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so for this one here, do I call out? I call out the names of people who vote yes. Yes on the bill. So. Wilfred. Wait. Are you gonna vote yes?
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
Okay. Saeed,
Yes.
Eric,
Aye.
Naditu,
Aye.
Julie? Julie?
aye.
Rebecca,
Aye.
Bonziak. Blessing. Travis. Awesome. This bill has passed. We have five people that passed it. 0 nays, 0 abstains. We have 3 people absent. Okay. Moving on. You're gonna, Justin, you'll be explaining about the amendment to, the amendment of GPSA office assistants.
Yeah, it amends the bylaws. Yeah, the office assistant. We've had an office assistant for 4 years or so, from what I understand. We don't really have a thing that says what the office assistant should do with the office manager. And it's really a bit of a issue because we don't have enumerated things as to what the office manager is. So I think simply making the section of the office manager makes sense, just so it's like, oh, we can have the office manager have some duties. What should the office manager do? So like what Kaya does is somewhat ambiguous, frankly, as is. It's also kind of a weird situation that Kaya is paid for by Student Activity Center / SGAO. We don't pay for the office manager. No. However, she's technically like our office manager, but we can't fire her because we don't pay for her. Weird situation. But I think creating, so I've drafted a bill to amend the bylaws and create a new section for the office manager. Section A, the office manager shall be present in the office in accordance with unit employment policies and procedures. Those do govern our policies and procedures, even above our own internal ones. The GPSA office manager shall set reasonable rules regarding the appropriate and respectful use of the GPSA office. ASUNM does something similar to that. Chris at ASU&M has basically technically her office in a lot of ways. So I think doing something what ASU&M has been doing successfully for years makes sense. And then there's also section C, which is probably the most interesting one here. Section C allows for the GPSA, gives the office manager a new duty. It is that she would manage the distribution and collection of weekly timesheets from members of GPSA. And the way in which it works is that all paid GPSA members must submit a weekly timesheet or declare they did not work for said week. Timesheets must contain sufficient detail of what GPSA member was doing during the time, including but not limited to office hours, lobbying, traveling for GPSA related events and meetings. And the GPSA manager shall evaluate all timesheets for accuracy and no discrepancies. The GPSA manager shall make these timesheets and notes available to any member of the public within 15 days of receiving a written request in accordance with the Inspection on Public Records Act, NMSA 1978, section 14(2)(a). And it also, and that's an interesting one because at least the creation of timesheets, because we haven't done timesheets in the past. When I was working on the fee increase over, Ben gave me a lot of hard questions about the time that we spend. Yeah. But yeah, Ben Garcia gave me a lot of hard and difficult questions regarding timesheets and how our time is spent, and if we really do need to increase the fee and how much we should be paying for having timesheets available for the public and GPSA members will give us a clear data point as to like, are we getting what we're paying for? Do we need to pay this much? Is this a good use of time? These are hard questions that we frankly cannot answer with specificity because we don't have a way to track that. And then the next section is the office manager shall make agendas and minutes of the meetings available to any member of the public within 15 days of receiving a written request. So people can just go to Kai and ask for an agenda for minutes or to learn where they are. And that's also under IPRA. And however, I do understand that the council is not necessarily built in a way that the executive branch is, and that the timesheets don't make sense for the council members. They just don't. So section 6 is a exception section. So notwithstanding, the council chair or council reporter shall keep track of council members' attendance of council meetings. So council members don't follow this. And the office manager shall also maintain contact information of all GPSA executive, legislative, and fiduciary members, such as emails and phone numbers. That way people can reach other people if they need to. And I think that is basically, I think this is going to actually add a bit more stability to what the GPSA office manager does and things work overall. I think this is, I believe I ran this through with Jared, seemed okay with it. I'm not sure if he's allowed to speak though. Speaking. Feel free to chime in.
Jared, if you want to chime in, you're more than welcome to chime in.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it looks good. I think timesheets are a regular occurrence in almost any job, and figuring out what hours are spent, and then also gives the freedom to allow workers to pick their hours that they're working too. I think many of the times, if it's just salary, like let's say you just can't devote that time that month, for mine specifically, it doesn't matter because, and there's no say, I have no say in whether or not I can reduce the amount I get paid. It just happens automatically. So I think having timesheets for everybody is a good step forward.
I also think the whole maintaining contact information makes sense that way. I might write one more bill to help with contact information here. One thing I'm thinking of maybe for the next one, for the very last one, or at least leaving for the next admin, is making it so that the office manager would also maintain contact information of the heads of the RSTAs. That way if GPSA needs to get in contact with like Student Bar Association or Student Medical Board, they can. versus like the weird like cat and mouse trail of like going around and do that. I think even maybe the RSDAs might also qualify for their own unique email, such as like SBA president or medical board president, engineering board president, stuff like that. So I think that would probably be a good next step to add to this, but I don't think I like, fully thought that through on how it should be able to get. So kind of grappling with that next part, but I think as is, it would actually be a very positive improvement.
Does anyone have any questions? Discussion? Okay, since there is none, does anyone want to make a motion to vote on the bill?
Hi, Eric. I make a motion to vote on the bill.
Awesome. Eric made a motion to vote on the bill. Who wants a second?
Wilfred,
Wilfred seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Awesome. So let's start the voting. Eric,
Aye.
so Julie.
Aye.
Perfect. Naditu,
Aye.
Rebecca. 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 Wilfred,
Yes.
Blessing. Bonziak. Saeed.
I think she just went up.
Rebecca. Need an eye from Rebecca. Rebecca. Do you have Rebecca's number?
Yes.
Can you let her know that we need her vote because Saeed left?
Please remove your vote. Yes, so we just go and then we use the reactor or whatever. Yes, yes. Okay, so Rebecca said she moved.
Okay, yes, okay. Out of 5 out of 8, the bill has passed. Thank you so much. Moving on.
let's talk about the controversial, I guess. Okay, so we have the general compensation. This would add a general compensation provision to the bylaws. I think the bylaws makes a lot of sense because it's easier to update the Constitution. And this is also something that if this passes, and if it doesn't, no matter what, I suspect the next administration is going to have to look at this again and figure out something about this. I talked to the council chair about this and he agreed on section D, stipend positions. I believe we were both in agreement that approximately $20 per hour for the stipend positions is an appropriate amount for the time being. And that they shall reasonably schedule their office hours throughout the semester, and that that should be a fair situation. However, we have a bit of a disagreement on the compensation with the GA ships. I believe that GA ships 0.5 ones should require about 15 office hours in the GPSA office per week. And he believes that it should require about 7.5, or not, about, I think he said 5 for his.
I said 5 to 10.
5 to 10, okay. So in order to help make this a bit better, this is a general compensation article, and there's also a savings clause. And the savings clause is that notwithstanding the provisions of this section, conflicting provisions of other articles shall take precedence over this section. So this is kind of the baseline. So for example, if a new GA was created and wasn't in, and it didn't say in the articles that govern that GA as to what it does, like such as the residency, then this would govern it. However, I think this is also, the savings clause is also there for another reason, in that I think it's important that we do recognize that all the positions have different responsibilities and time commitments. So I think this will hopefully be a good basis to start from. But no matter what happens, I think between the timesheets and this, the way I envision it happening is next semester, partway through the semester, the president and the council chair, whoever they are, will go to the council with the timesheets and what they're doing and talk about this too. And they'll say, yeah, I don't do this because there just isn't enough work for me, or I do more than this because of that. And then we can kind of adjust this from there. So that's how I envision this happening. But ultimately, this one is one that I'm definitely a little bit more on the fence about as to how it should be done. However, I think that this is a good starting point for GPSA, and that this combined with the timesheets will set GPSA for success in the future of determining how much we spend, how much we should spend, what we should require of people, what we shouldn't require of people, and give us the actual knowledge to make us move forward. And this is the mechanism at which point that knowledge will be hopefully implemented, at least one of the mechanisms. It's not going to be the primary one. The primary one is going to be the articles that directly govern GAs. So if this governs anything, most of all, it's going to govern stipend positions. But so yeah. Does anyone have any questions regarding it? Wilford?
Yes, so I have 2 quick questions. The first one is, I want to get a confirmation on it. If you have a GA position, say 10 hours with GPSA, are you allowed to take another GA position elsewhere?
That's a good question. I have received conflicting reports about that. I believe Jared informed me that you can't take a 0.25 and a 0.5. And I've also, Wilbur also informed me of something to that level of candidates running. So I'm not sure how that's going to.
I can kind of talk a little bit more about that. So in my personal experience, last semester I was a TA and I was the 0.5 GA ship with GPSA. As long as you don't exceed the 0.75, it should be okay. I understand also if you have an RA ship, let's say you're an RA in the biology department and you want to run for GPSA president. I believe that if you win or are elected to that position, you should be able to be worked with by the administration to determine if you can work a 0.25 FTE as the president. That's just my belief. I feel that if you were elected, you were chosen for a reason. And I feel that some people, are capable of doing at least the council chair. I won't speak on behalf of the president. At least the council chair, you are capable of doing this job in a 0.25 FTE. Will you get as much done? Who knows? That's up for debate. But it is a high likely probability that you can be successful in this position. And I don't want to discourage anyone, especially somebody who wins the election, from being able to hold the position because they have to meet the requirements from their original department to graduate. This position should not ever get in the way of you being able to obtain your academic goals at UNM. So that's just my opinion.
So what I know is that if you are an international student and you've been here for like a year and above, during school sessions, you are allowed to work up to 30 hours. That's what I know, and I'm very confident about that.
Yeah,
So that
0.7.
way you can have, so that way you can have 10 hours with GPSA and 20 hours or whatever hours elsewhere. But I am a bit skeptical in terms of somebody becoming president or council chair or chief of staff, whatever it is, and then coming to take like 10 hours with GPSA, especially from my department. It's very, like, the way the stipends, the GAs work is a bit tricky. So it may not be a safe zone to be in. So I am really skeptical why we are changing it from the usual 20 hours to 0.25 is 10 hours, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so I want to understand the reason. I know we want to save money, but again, the work that's, as far as I know, that goes into GPSA presidents or council chair isn't that simple unless we are trying to miniaturize that, which I believe is debatable. So I really want to understand that.
Yeah, part of the reason why I selected these hours is that me and council chair disagree on these hours. I'm open to 20, but I will say that the way in which the workflow works for the presidency, I would say it's about 15 hours on average, except for during the legislative season. The legislative season, January and like early February, or even number of years, 25 hours a week. It's a nightmare for in presidency. And on odd number years, so next year, that's going to be similar workload, except it's going to be January and late February. Because the state legislature meets for 60 days on even number years, and on odd number years like this year, they only need 30. And we need to send people up there to lobby, join Zoom meetings with senators, House reps, higher education department. It is really a difficult situation in that, and I think that's one of the reasons why Ryan, when he does offer these positions out, I believe when you run for these positions by council chair or president, I'm not sure about council chair, but I know for president, you have to sign a form that says you will commit to a 0.5 GA ship. The presidency does have a other issue, the issue that I'm hoping to resolve the next bill that I'm going to present here. There is a lot of noise, as I would call it. It's not it's difficult to know where you should be spending your time as president. I have a good grasp of it now at this point, but the first semester where I should spend my time, it's literally everywhere. It's like, oh, I'll just go here, 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 there, when, where, and it's not an efficient use of the president's time. We have a seat on every committee at UNM. basically. Some of them are non-voting, some of them are voting. The problem is knowing which one to go to is a disaster. The calendar invites show up all the time. And it's like, oh, we're doing this committee. Oh, we're doing that committee. Oh, we're doing project equity inclusion and project equity inclusion. What was the one? I think Jared sat on that one for a bit. But
It
it's
was,
that
I
one.
don't know, pale. It was kind of embarrassing, their take on changing laws. So I just stopped going because it was not productive, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that. I can actually completely understand that. And those committees keep on coming and they don't stop coming. And throughout my whole year, I've received emails where it's like, oh yeah, by the way, GPSA, we haven't seen you for 2 years. Come sit on KNUNM or KUNM's board, the radio station. Oh, we haven't seen you for a year here. Come sit at this committee, that committee. We don't have a good way to track those, and the next bill is going to help with that. But like as is, I will say the president probably should be appreciation. Just too much. Part of like the next bill is to try and help organize it in a way that makes sense, that will help make it A, not as much of a burden, B, make us use our resources more efficiently, and C, chart the university. Frankly, GPSA is bad at charting the university. By charting the university, I mean passing down the institutional knowledge of how the university works. Where are the important committees? What are the important committees? What committees are useless? Committees are like, frankly, I'd say, in my opinion, 80% of the committees are not necessary for me to go to. However, I've gone to like at least one of each to see what they're about and understand them. And the problem is like some of these committees though are kind of. So there's like the most important ones, kind of important ones, not so great ones. And making sure that that is charted out in the next bill, which we're not at yet, is important. But as for this, I think this is a good starting point. And when it comes to like who decides if you can take a 0.5 and a 0.25, that's actually the Dean of Graduate Studies and UNM Council. Because if you take, what UNM is trying to avoid is people working 40 hours a week because they're technically a full-time employee. That triggers all types of stuff under state law, benefits, insurance things, but it's also kind of weird that like we already have insurance along the ways through GA, so it's a difficult situation. Because for example, you can't stack a 0.33 GA and a 0.5, but you could stack a 0.33 and a 0.25. It's a bit of a mess, and this is basically the starting point where I think we'll kind of disassemble that mess and make it a bit better. This is going to have to be changed next year, through, and I think it's important that next year's council president and council chair discuss this, because frankly, as I said earlier with the timesheets, we don't have the data to know. We don't have the knowledge to make a super informed decision about this. This is the starting point, and this is, if this doesn't change next year, I have frankly been shocked. I did the best in estimates that I could do. It's what I thought was reasonable, but it's difficult.
Okay, so my next question, but before I go there, I don't know what ASUNM does, but my honest position on this is, and I'm speaking as an international student, and then from a department where if you have any form of GA from somewhere, they tell you, and depending on your level, they tell you that, oh, you've been here for a couple years, so you are not a priority, whether you have 10 hours or whatever hours from elsewhere. So I would prefer that we keep it as it is, because already we have issues like GPSA, the participation is really not that huge as compared with ASUNM. So I would prefer that we keep it as it is, that if you are GPSA president or whatever GA position, it should be safe to assume that you have your 0.5. And so trying to do this personally, I am skeptical about the C. Okay. Then we come to the D. It says 20 hours $20 per hour. I don't know. How are we going to, so the stipend positions, I assume like elections chair and all those kinds of things, right? So in that case, if somebody comes to the office, say 10 hours within the week, you're doing by 20. So I really want to understand how the computation will be like. As against now, we know that at the end of the semester, you have a flat rate where you get a certain amount. With this, we are trying to introduce some kind of nuance. And I really want to understand the reasoning behind that.
Yeah, I think, well, there is actually a point two, which is they shall reasonably schedule their office hours throughout the semester. I think part of it is just making sure that we pay the stipend positions an appropriate amount per hour. I don't want the stipend positions grinding themselves to dust. Travis, for example, has put in a ton of hours. However, sustainability kind of is his passion. And we do have the approximately there. Approximately means about or around. And that's to kind of give us a bit more flexibility for the next administration, because this is once again the starting point of, we're going to try and determine how much people should be working, how much this will take, and how long they should work too. It's a difficult situation just because that, and the computation would be through the timesheets. So the timesheets would be like, you would fill out a timesheet and be like, hey, I was here this long. But this is going to help give us an idea as to how long. It gives us a metric as to like how much people should be paying, and with the timesheets, we'll know how much they're working. And then we'll be able to adjust the duties of the other positions later on.
The way I understand this is like, so in that case, people are not going to pay uniformly. That's how I understand this.
Yeah.
And that can be a bit tricky. So why don't you remove the approximately? If we are doing 15, we know we are doing 15. If we are doing 20, we know we are doing 20. And then we have like a standard number of hours that if you are in a stipend position, you are required to fulfill within the week. And that we track it using the timesheet, as against leaving it like blank as this, because then, I mean, I can decide, depending on what I am doing within the week, that, okay, so this is my position and it requires me to do this A, B, and C, and that can be a bit challenging. So I have a difficulty with it here as well. Yeah.
Let's see. I have a question. What do you feel about this, Jared? Or how do you feel?
Sorry, remind me. I had to step out for a minute.
Wilfred, he has concerns about section D, part 1. And his concern is that since the approximately is there, there's a possibility that someone would have to work more hours for their position than another person, and thus they would actually technically be paid more or less if they have to work more hours. And the reason why I inserted that there was that the next administration would have a little bit of flexibility regarding if a position does have to work more hours than whatever they're budgeted towards. However, I'm kind of okay with just removing the approximately, and if we run out of hours, we run out of hours, and we have to do an appropriation.
Yeah. Is that what you're kind of wanting, Wilfred? I'm all for if
Yeah.
you're not getting paid, don't do the work. Regardless of how you feel. Like if you're not, if you've already, if they budgeted on only 5 hours, you put in 5 hours, and then once we get the appropriation and everything, then you can do the next 10 hours. But I would highly encourage, just in any job, if the requirement is 40 hours, you work 40 hours. And if they ask you for more, then you get paid more, or you work overtime or something like that.
It sounds good, right? I'm okay with removing the approximately.
Does that kind of answer your question, Wilfred?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know we have
whatever
some hand.
So if you want to move, if you want to get rid of approximately, go ahead, and then that way it holds GPSA accountable for if you did work those 10 hours, then we should really push to get that appropriation if we only budgeted 5. Does that make sense?
So Wilfred, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to remove approximately from line section D, subsection 1.
And that will be line 55. Is that
Yes.
correct? So Wilfred just made a motion to remove approximately on D1 line 55. Does anyone want a second?
Seconded.
Awesome. Eric just seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, the motion has passed to remove approximately on line item 55. Awesome. I know Maya has a question. You have the floor.
I'm just curious if it's worth putting in that the stipend positions cannot work more than a 0.25 FTE. But it sounds like there's a budget, like there's gonna be a process where you can budget for so many hours and that's communicated to the stipend positions. So maybe it's not necessary, but if we could just have a little bit more clarification, is it possible that someone could be asked to do the amount of work of a assistantship?
Based upon the current budgeting, no. In theory, yes. There is student employment on campus that is an assistantship that does pay money as a stipend or as a large stipend. However, I will say that those jobs that do pay money hourly generally are kind of bad.
Well, no,
And
I'm
you
talking
have-
about GPSA. I'm not talking about the general employment. I'm talking about relevant to here.
Yeah, I don't think there's any possibility that that would happen.
Okay.
Only like concerned about that happening is maybe the political director, if the increase passes and we actually have one next year. Currently, as is for the budget next year, it would be the president, chief of staff and council chair kind of doing what the political director does, unfortunately, but the political director is like a weird one in that they're going to be really busy for 2 months. They're going to have like an hour meeting here or there when we're talking to members of the legislature, and then they're going to be really busy for like 2 months in the second semester, and then they're going to have nothing else to do. So that's kind of make start talking to people at the end of around April again for like an hour. So it's a bit of a weird thing. We're currently not there yet. All the positions that do have to have that next year are budgeted pretty well. Maybe the public relations chair, which is budgeted, I think, at like $3,000, but that's not nearly as much as anything else. And the stipend positions can be stacked with GA ships. So yeah.
Eric, I saw that you had your hand up. Do you have any questions, comments, or discussion about the bill? Eric, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I was talking about line 55. Maybe I don't understand it very much. Maybe Justin can explain. You must have explained it and I didn't catch it. For stipend position, what you're saying is that every hour, maybe a director is paid $50.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Is it every hour spent in the GPSA office, or every hour that he or she uses to discharge his or her duty?
The stipend position is every hour that they do their duties there, or that you just performing duties. So for example, if you're building the elections at home for an hour, then that's an hour. So
I didn't get it. What do you say?
So yeah, if you're doing your so Yeah, if you are doing your duties at home, for example, because the elections director can send out emails from home and stuff, you can fill out your time sheet and that does count for that one. So you don't have to be in the office with stipend positions at all. Also, there is also the savings clause at the end of it. So for example, for the elections director, which we'll look at here coming up here a bit, there will be a way in which to, for them to, how should I put it? So let's say, give me a moment. Okay, so yeah, you can bill like as a stipend position as from home currently on this, if you're like writing emails and setting up elections and building it. However, there is also the savings clause, so we can also change how this section works in the elections director section. Which I did also change a bit in the next bill that we'll discuss.
Okay, good. Let's imagine now that someone is working. Can someone okay? Is there like a threshold or a benchmark that the director cannot earn more than, like beyond that maybe that benchmark? Because if you tell me that I'll be working $20 per hour, what if I decide to work, an hour for hours that will earn me about $1,000 per semester? Is that possible?
Theoretically, but you're going to have to do timesheets, and it's also going to be one of those things where it's going to have to be related to your duties.
So don't you think that will really affect the finance of GPSA? Trying to tell people that okay, this type of position to like it comes with $20 per hour and it's unlimited. We may try to like work beyond certain number of hours and they'll earn more money, and that will like cause a strain on the GPSA finance.
So those stipend positions are budgeted for a limited number of hours at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year, end of this semester. So the budget for the stipend position would be for like the elections director. This semester would be $750 to $750. So the most they could work is 5 times 7, 35 plus 2, 37 and a half hours.
Okay.
So currently that's how that works. So yeah, the budget process prevents that from happening. And if you did work 37 and a half hours, then in order for us to keep you working, we would have to go do a quick appropriation.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to like understand. Thank you.
So Rebecca's hand up. Rebecca, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I wanted to like kind of like clarify the same question Eric had, because I was going to say, does that not now like defeat the purpose of restructuring the stipend and everything if people can like work? And then if you are saying that people work from home and then it's 1 hour, how do you track how many hours I did at home? Now there are some, take for instance the finance position. If you say it's required to do this number of hours, sometimes beyond those hours you still have to like respond to things, you still have to do different other things. How do you like track all those, the hours that was spent?
Yeah, that's going to be with the previous bill, the timesheet bill. If you're on a stipend, you're also going to have to fill out a timesheet. That way you can kind of keep track of the hours and how much hours you really do need to budget for these and how much it does take to run certain things at GPSA. So yeah, they're going to have to fill out timesheets and they're going to have to do them contemporaneously. I am okay with the idea that a email, for example, could count as, let's say like Eric receives like one email in the middle of the night or elections, just like one. He goes and does it or whatnot, but it takes him like 2 minutes or whatever. I am okay with rounding up to the nearest 10th of an hour for something like that, because that's how billable time works for law students, and I think it also works that way for other professionals too. So, for example, as a lawyer, if I receive a email in the middle of the night for my client and I answer it, I can just bill 6 minutes, which makes sense because when you do answer something like that, you normally have to disengage from what you're doing, then do that, then re-engage what you were doing. So to me, that is fair for people to build that way. But yeah.
So I think probably to add on to this, for tracking, for the tracking hours have you guys discussed about like what type of recording of tracking hours are gonna be, like Excel, or do you guys have, does UNM have a system for us to use to track
UNM
hours?
UNM has their own timesheets. However, this is also interesting in that I think like the most accurate way in which we could possibly track hours would be like a professional hours program like Clio. However, Clio is A, costs money, which I don't want to spend. B, they might actually give it to us for free. We're like, oh, we're student government, we want to use this. That's like a high probability. However, if we were to ever like implement anything in which the tracked hours are used for other purposes that affect employment, then that would have to be UNIM's timesheet. What I understand. So it's one of those things where like, what is the goal here? And I think we just start with UNIM's timesheet because the price is free and the price is right. So I think that's a good place to start on. As for billable hours someday, maybe, but that's also a bit of a random thing because billable hours is a nightmare in a lot of ways.
I know for my business, I use Homebase. And it's an easier system to use for tracking hours. And I can add more people and I for the free version. So that's my tiny advice.
Yeah, Clio's like interesting in that I think Clio makes a lot of sense because you guys have projects up in it.
Okay.
So for example, like I could be like, because when you like hit the timer on Clio and then you hit it off, it's like, where do you want to categorize this? Like lobbying in Santa Fe. I want to categorize this. Board of Regents meeting. Where do you want to categorize this? Star meeting. This, that, and then you can actually have a real detailed breakdown as to how like everything works, but I don't think we're there yet. That and Paul, I talked to Paul about that, and he's like, "You're crazy. No one wants to do billable hours. Just do the UNM timesheet." It's like, okay. So I think the UNM timesheet makes sense to start with, and we'll give the council a good idea as to where we're going with this and everything, and it'll also provide a good record for us to actually be able to do self-evaluation on GPSA. Well, this works, this doesn't. We need to budget more money towards this, budget less money towards that. Allow us to shift things around a bit. So, but yeah, billable hours would be a more accurate way to do that. We're not there yet, I don't.
Does anyone have any questions regarding about this bill? Wilfred?
Yes, quick one. So the part C, right? It says, I think the line 1 says if the GA posts a 0.25 FTE. So in that case, I'm willing to vote for it. But that is contingent upon the fact that if in the bylaws, we know which position, like the president is say 0.5, council chair is 0.5. It's if we are going to state that explicitly in the bylaw, then I'm willing to go in for it. Other than that, I'm still on the fence.
Okay, I'm willing to do that personally. Jared's also going to have to agree with me about that. The president is listed as 0.5 in the bylaws. I don't know what the council chair is listed as in the bylaws. I think it is listed at all. So I think next year the council chair has been budgeted for 0.25, and or no, they've been budgeted for a large stipends. If the fee increase passes, I'm going to put in an appropriation to get money for the council chair to do 0.25. And I would consider putting in an appropriation for the public relations to do 0.25 there. I think that's kind of where we're at on that situation, but I'm more than willing to do that.
Any more questions, concerns? Well, would someone want to make a motion to vote on the bill? General compensation.
Wilfred make the motion to vote on this bill.
Awesome. Rupert just made a motion to vote on the bill. Does anyone want to second?
Seconded by me.
Awesome. Eric seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. Awesome voting. Wilfred,
Yes.
Said. Bonziak. Blessing. Julie,
Yes.
Travis. Eric,
Aye.
Naditu,
Aye.
Rebecca.
Aye.
Awesome. The bill passes. 5 yeses, 0 nos, 0 abstained. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 people absent. Awesome. And then this is the last bill to amend the Article 3 direct for elections board and committees.
Yeah. So, let's pull up Article 3 here. The director of elections, boards and committees is probably the biggest change. However, there is other stuff that interlocks into it. I think go to line 75-ish. Here we go. This. So this interlocks with the previous bill. This helps set the standard as to what the president should be maintaining office hour wise. The president shall maintain on average 15 office hours per week. And all that explains how the president can fulfill this requirement. The president may fulfill this requirement by attending meetings, traveling and lobbying when said actions are reasonably related to GPSA. So if I go to the budget leadership team to listen to how the university is broke for an hour, that counts as an hour. If I go to project equity inclusion, what thing or whatever, that counts as an hour. If I go to the board of regents for an hour and a half, that's an hour and a half. Also lobbying, I think, and traveling is also important here because we do live in Albuquerque, and when we lobby, we do go to Santa Fe. Santa Fe is an hour and a half drive from here. If you're going at the speed limit, maybe a bit less if you aren't. So I think travel is a reasonable, as long as it's for the purpose of GPSA, would count. So if I'm going up there to lobby Senator Hope to pass the Graduate Scholarship Act, that hour and a half traveling there too counts, and an hour and a half traveling back counts. Or I'm going up there to hang with my best friend, Justice Thompson, that doesn't count. It's not related to GPSA business. But yeah, and it also has a part B that the president shall budget their time accordingly in the spring semester to ensure adequate time for lobbying in the months of January and February. This time period may be more than 15 hours per week. For us, like ASU and M, they do not have anything like this at all. They completely blow any hour requirement out of the, or any hour like maximum or whatever out of the lobbying season. I also did it here too. It's just the situation we are in due to having such a condensed legislative season, where it's 30 days on even years, 60 days on odd years. Next year is going to be 60 days, and it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. So I think that's important to make sure that, make sure that we know how we're tracking time. I think a clause like that might make sense for the other GAs, including the council chair, that they can fulfill their hour requirement by doing GPSA business. This is where I'm starting with the presidency, and Jared is going to be in charge of determining that. Let's see. And yeah, the chief of staff has the same exact clauses. so that they can fulfill their office hour requirements by traveling for GPSA business or going to meetings on behalf of GPSA. And lobbying when said actions are reasonably related to GPSA, that they need to budget their time to ensure they have extra bandwidth during January and February. Let's see. And then there's section 5, which has been reorganized in a way that's a bit more interesting. So it is now Public Affairs and Development Director, instead of the Public Affairs Director. Development is the word you use. If you're in development, that means you're into fundraising, developing the graduate. We are, I think next week, we're going to have our letter from the UNM Foundation, and we'll be able to fundraise. They'll be able to, when someone gives me $1,000, I'll be able to give them a letter that says, thank you so much for your everything. Here is a tax letter that indicates you donated $1,000 to a charitable organization or a tax deductible cause. And that's hopefully what the public do. And that Joseph has done a good job raising money in the way he can. How he raised money through grants processes that exist already within charitable organizations. But this is going to allow us to do, this will give the public affairs director the direction to do this on their own board. Because we've also have a new account that has no money in it, but we'll be able to put money in that account, quasi endowment, and we'll be able to draw that money and help use it to supplement the grants fund. And I relabeled the numbers because it was actually typoed originally when I got it. It just started at number 2. So, and then I added on a section 12 to help with the fundraising. So public affairs, so the public affairs and my development director will also identify and organize fundraising opportunities for graduate students, GPSA, and UNM units. I think it's an interesting thing what Joseph did in that he helped Logo Food Pantry, which isn't part of GPSA and mostly serves undergraduates, get $25,000 a year in recurring funding for the next several years. Help make sure that people have food, adequate food security here. So I think helping the units is actually really important. So the units include Logo Food Pantry, which is under Logo Respect. And there's a whole list of units: American Indian Student Services, El Centro de la Raza, Women's Resource Center, stuff like that. The units are defined on the Student Future website, but they're basically non-academic units. So for example, under this, Joseph was like, oh, I really want to go raise money for the history department. He wouldn't be able to. Which, you know, fact of the matter is the academic units, as far as I'm concerned, are generally, they have access to President Stokes and lobbying power that she possesses. They don't need our help. However, the UNM units themselves, they're reliant entirely on student fees and basically the goodwill of GPSA and ASU, honestly. A lot of what American Indian Student Services, African American Student Services, and other places like that, and rec services. So Johnson Gym. So yeah, I think us working with that makes sense to raise money from those places, along with our own stuff. Especially if I'm sure there will be a bit of a priority order though, because it's like, what do we want to raise money for first? The grants. However, this does give the flexibility for, like, say they saw some random, say we use out raising money, saw a grant or something that was available that didn't quite fit into something that we do, but it might fit into something else that happens on campus, such as Logo Respect. For example, the church that donated for us for that, they weren't going to give us money to like give to practices, but they were willing to provide for the food pantry. So to me, that's a great way. And the next step is to help perpetuate this fundraising. They need to maintain a donor list, probably in an Excel format. Ideally, we should probably hit up whoever donates to us, probably once a year or twice a year. That's it. Just to be like, hey, by the way, thank you for your donation previously. We're still here. Would you like to give more? So I think maintaining a donor list is where the money's coming from is important, especially so we can like send out donor letters or stuff of appreciation after we get a donation, whatever. And they also do need to comply with the University of New Mexico and University of New Mexico Foundation policies regarding fundraising. I put that there because we do have issues with OMA, for example. We forget it exists sometimes. And I don't want us to forget that, like, the university has, and we are a unit of the university, so I don't want us to like forget that we're governed by them at some level regarding fundraising. And I changed because we didn't have enough money to budget the public affairs director fully this year as a 0.5 GA. I changed it so that their compensation will be a 0.25 FTE or stipend as determined by the GPSA budget process and university policy. They're budgeted for a large stipend next year, but it's not as much as a GA at all. However, as we've said before at the council meeting, I frankly didn't have enough work for a 0.5 GA in that position. I don't have the timesheets to do that, but I can tell you that the public affairs director does not have 0.5. So I think as is, that's going to help us fit here. It will help us comply with what's happened so far with the budget, unfortunately. Yeah, I also changed the going further down to like 220. I've changed this to be more compliance to more recent like stuff. So I changed it from section I to section A. Throughout the whole GPSA bylaws and whatnot, we use section I, and then we use A, and then we use 1, then we use 2, uppercase A. So all this is in line with what the updated bylaws are, the bullet pointing. So then we have section 7, an interesting one here. So we have the director of elections and boards and committees. So the thing about, or as I like to call DEP, DEPC. So DEP, either way. That's the thing about the election. The thing about the elections that I have a problem with is we do hire someone for elections and we give them a stipend for 2 semesters. However, we don't do elections in the first semester. Just kind of there, the first semester, chilling, doing whatever. I want to make sure there is adequate work for them. So they're now also in charge of boards and committees. And also it should be boards, not just boards. So we'll have to change that here. Sorry about that. But oh my God, I misspelled it twice. Okay, well. But yeah, so like what happens is now, so they now have a new responsibility that they can do year-round too. However, it's mostly going to be centered in the first semester. I will say the emails I got regarding people being like, come sit on our board and so have decreased a lot over time. I still get them from time to time where they're like, oh, we haven't seen GPSA in a hot minute. And it's like, wow, we haven't seen them since David's administration or whatnot, which is quite a while away, 2 years away, basically. But now they will work with president to create a list of all UNM committees and boards on which GPSA has representation. So imagining they would make a spreadsheet, maybe a Word document, they list out where we have slots. And they will also work with the president to determine the importance of these committees and boards. And that kind of comes back down to the whole situation where it's like, oh, this was good. Oh, this was bad. Oh, this is important. This one isn't. For example, the Board of Regents committee, the Board of Regents one is weird in that I don't think that's actually one of the most important committees in the school, because everything that goes, it's more ceremonial than actual, because everything that goes in front of the Board of Regents as a whole is been decided in committees or voted on in committees or discussed in committees at that point. Because if you try and stop something in the Board of Regents committee, it's basically over at that point. Everyone's already decided what's going to happen there. But it's important for GPSA to be there because it's ceremonial in nature. It's also one way in which we can actually communicate to the public consistently. And let's see, but yeah. And it will also inform, also one thing that is another issue is I don't have enough time to attend all of these at all. I don't think anyone does. I spent a lot of time at these from what I've gathered. Just every committee possible. And I don't necessarily think that's the best use of the president's time, so. But I do want GPSA to have this representation on these boards and committees, so. The director shall inform the GPSA council as to any openings on committees and boards, and will work to fill said openings with GPSA members. So I imagine like at a council meeting or whatnot, the director would have a speaking minute and say, I have a opening on the honorary degree committee, I have an opening on the tuition and fee committee. I'm looking for one person to attend each. And the director would also be authorized to provide stipends to GPSA members who have served on committees or boards if the monies have been approved for said purpose. So for example, the director so for example, the director could approve stipends to go to some of these places for people to. For people from the council to go on to, or whoever. That way we can actually bring the council a bit more into this now, increase participation. And then there's the student fee review board. The student fee review board is SFRB is actually where a lot of GPSA's power actually is. It is our hand on the wheel of the budget of the university. SFRB handles how all the student fees are spent and provides, well, they provide recommendations as to how the student fees are spent and as to if we should raise student fees. The thing about SFRB is that generally in that vote, that recommendation from SFRB then goes to the budget leadership team. If the recommendation is well balanced and doesn't have any concerning cuts or anything, I'd say about 75% of SFRB recommendations, the budget leadership team just looks at it and goes, yes, clunk, and then goes forward. However, and then that goes up to President Stokes, who will then say, with the budget leadership team has said yes, she's basically gonna say yeah, she can't see that it's really important. So she'll be like clunk, yes, and then goes in front of the board of regents, and then go clunk, yes. The problem is that if this is where like we have a lot of power over, we need to make sure we actually kind of exploit that to make sure we get money to units that need it. So SFRB is able to spend money on the units. So all the GAs that exist for the units, such as African American Student Services, they have a GA. American Indian Student Services have a GA. Student Activity Center has like a couple GAs. And all these GAs from all these units are basically powered by student fee review, along with all the student employment in the sub, the Johnson. SFRB powers basically most of the student employment unless it's academic. Then that's powered by itself, or unless it's us. We're powered by the head count fee to the extent it is able to power us. So overall, but if someone has a good idea though, then and there's not money for us to fund it, then SFRB can theoretically fund it if we put it in the right slot. SFRB, for example, Travis had this idea where he wanted to get greenhouses for this one student org or something, and they would grow food in those greenhouses for the food pantry. Or those greenhouses are like a couple $1,000 or $2,000. We can't really afford that. SFRB has money. Yeah. What would make sense if we get money? Keep going, I think. Okay, but what would make sense is if you have someone who actually utilizes a part of the code, we can like solicit ideas but
Honestly,
then we get
Honestly.
them into the proper category in SFRP and get that money spent on that. So I think that's generally the whole goal of this, to like build this framework so that that can actually happen, because SFRP is a really mechanical process with lots of procedures and timelines. So we need to make sure if we want to, if GPSA wants the possibility of exploiting SFRB, using SFRB to help students a bit more, especially the graduate students, we need to be on top of this and we need to kind of put it together on the side and help solicit that. And the elections director doesn't do much during the first semester. So an SFRB is more of a first semester, it always happens the first semester. So I think combining this together and expanding the elections director's duties out, by giving them some time for this, that. I think this is actually a great idea, and I think it will actually allow us to actually have a bit more of a presence as to what we're doing, and will also enable us to have access to more resources to help that are outside of GPSA's resources. Analyzing SFRB is also a difficult situation in that once the office, it's like the office, maybe one of you knows, there's like an office here at UNM where you can apply for like $1,000 in traveling stipends, basically like the research grant or grant, except it's like from an academic department or it's from another unit. But basically the math on it is something like 73% of every dollar spent in that department goes to graduate students. So what we really need to do is kind of analyze these departments too and see like when SFRB spends money, is it going to ASUN? Is it graduate students? Is it both? And identify the ones that make sense for us to spend money in and to push for. You're like, oh yeah, ASUN and Princeton. Yeah, I really think your idea of buying new carpet for the stuff is great. How about this? Let's add another $20,000 to this one, to this department over here. And that'll help us move money. And that department, for example, is one that is proportionally benefit to graduate students. So it's SFRB is its own nightmare. And I know you're probably like lost after I just talked about that. It is important. They have millions of dollars. We need a better way to keep track of it other than here you go. Like I didn't like the way in which I learned SFRB is I had to learn it with ASUN president, and she had been there multiple times before. And I took Silas with me, who had been at SFRB before. That was the smartest decision I ever made. He like saved us like $80,000. So yeah, at SFRB, like we had an $80,000 chunk because we also received money from SFRB that we're trying to get away from. ASUNM does not like that. They are very unhappy. They outvote us 2-1 on this. They have 4 slots, 4 voting members. We got 2. Not a great situation. We really need our arguments in SFRB tailored in a way that makes sense for us as graduate students. And let's see. There's the Student Fee Review Board Committee serving at line 339. Yeah. This is the mechanism of which we will solicit people's ideas for SFRB. I think we need to coordinate in advance with ASUN to some level and the units and council, everyone. That way we can actually solicit these ideas and make sure that the units, the academic support units, which I listed off all the ones that I could find here, on here, are getting what they need. We need to know what they need, how much they need, and try and figure out in advance. Because if we work with them in advance, since only units are allowed by university policy and SFRB policy to submit requests to SFRB, we have to make sure any asks that we want to like change the university, such as those greenhouses, fit into one of these categories. However, these categories are very loose. They are incredibly loose. For example, this year we approved $300,000 to African American Student Services for a motor pool that is shared between all of the units. However, African American Student Services agreed to transfer the motor pool to the Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Eric Scott, upon receiving the motor pool. That way, Student Affairs can manage the motor pool and do a check-in, check-out, create a policy as to how we would have priority on the motor pool and for what reasons, and like manage the timesheets for it and whatnot. Because if you're like renting a vehicle from a motor pool and you only have 3 vehicles, but you have this many units, there's a possibility of some conflict. But yeah, categories, we should try and fit it as best in one of these categories as possible, or solicit someone for, like, say, the greenhouses. Let's say Lobo Respect was like, no, we don't want to do this for people. Well, then we talk to, I don't know, student health and counseling. Also, I noticed children's campus here that actually, or at least most of them, literally walk into this thing blind. And it is one of the biggest opportunities ever. It's the first semester when, frankly, it's hard to know everything. And I think we really need to work with this. And that's the main purpose of that. I think that's it. I think I relabeled the term of office number because I think it was an A. It was like, okay, yeah, because on the very final end sheet, like number 403. Yeah, it was like, it was A1, B1, C, lowercase a1 I. I changed that to a 1. So I think just to help make it a bit more consistent as to how it looks. But I do want to go back up to 339, and I was hoping someone would be willing to motion to change to add an S to. Wait, no, not 33. It was 253. Wait, is that it? Oh, yeah. Yes, 255. There we go. 255 and 258 had an S to boards.
Okay.
On both of those.
Does anyone want to make a motion to add an S on 255 and 258 on board?
I so move.
Awesome. Second, who wants a second? Awesome. Wilfred seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Awesome. The motion has passed. Awesome. Does anyone have any questions about the bill? Any concerns,
Comments,
comments?
quips. I'll take quips.
Okay, who wants to make an motion to vote on this bill?
I will make a motion to vote on the bill.
Awesome, Eric, made a motion. Who wants a second?
I second.
Awesome, Rebecca seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, we're gonna be voting separately, so starting with Wilfred.
Yes.
Eric,
Aye.
awesome, Julie. Julie,
Hi, sorry, I'm like multitasking.
Natu, Natu. I'm gonna move on and come back. Rebecca,
Aye.
Bonziak, Blessing, Travis, Said, Natu. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Bonziak, Natu left.
I don't like this.
You have, okay, now did you?
Aye.
The bill passed. Five yes, 0 no's, 0 abstain. We have 4 people that are absent. Thank you so much, Justin. All the bills have passed. And yours, the 30th of March is when it will go to main council. I will send all of the information to Jared here after this meeting, going over everything from there.
Sounds good. And I haven't checked my email. I think I saw Jared responded, but I think, did you get the email from the bookstore people? Jared?
I didn't.
Is he there?
No, Jared had to leave.
Oh, he had to leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll send him.
Okay.
And I also want to like see if we can talk to university libraries too. Basically, the bookstore at UNM wants to create a build books into the tuition rate.
Mhm.
So you have your books automatically through the tuition rate.
Okay.
My problem with that is, I don't know, price shop at the bookstore. Maybe not the best bargain for your buck. However, they're gonna speak to council. I think bringing libraries there makes sense because we do have a program on campus where the university libraries will give professors a grant or whatever to write their own book. Yeah. And if like that happened with enough books, it would definitely make economic sense to do that. But it's probably needs to be a collaboration with bookstore and libraries. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, I'll let him know about that so that he can
I'll
send it.
send the email here. I
Okay.
think he responded with people likely
Okay.
about this and see if I can get them to come to, which is going to be an interesting one. But yeah, thank you all very much. I do think this will actually help a lot. It's all pass. I'd say the main theme of all of this is preservation of institutional knowledge. Just trying to come up with a way that like makes sense for the future and ways in which we have coherent way in which to do stuff. Just kind of like, oh, here you go. Here's your presidency. By the way, there's this thing called SFRB. Oh, and go talk to Senator Pope. I don't have any other plan besides that. The most thought with more steps. I love steps. It really help guide me.
Exactly. Well, thank you.
Thank you. I think
Thank you, Justin.
think I had a, do we have more bill?
We have one more bill. Yeah. Oh, the OMA.
Right, so I think I had a question which will essentially be the report from Eric. It's not really based on the report, but it's a general question. I think I've asked this a couple of times, and it's about, that's my observation. So since the president is here, I believe you'll be in the right position to answer that question. So my observation is that we try to have, right, everybody like in various positions to meet with LSC to sort of give us updates on what everybody is doing in their various positions, which is really why we've been trying to clean up things, making sure that everybody is really working for what they earn, right? But it's from last semester till today, I haven't been in any LSC meeting where I have seen a finance report from the finance committee chair himself. So since I think I've asked this a couple of times. So since you are here, probably you have a response to that because I'm a bit worried. I mean, I want to understand why the report should always come from the vice chair when at least we members should be, I'm not sure if all of us know who even the chair for the elections committee, the finance committee is. We are just familiar with Eric. So I don't know what, probably you have a response to that, but
yeah,
it worries me.
Yeah, so from what I understand, the finance committee, we have that issues in 72 hours. I believe the vice chair's responsibility is to take notes and then produce minutes. And then I suspect those get uploaded and then the finance chair is supposed to make the report. Out of that, from what I suspect, I will email Silas and include you on that today. See, because if Yeah, Silas is the finance chair right now, and I'm not quite sure what the holdup is. I kind of wish you'd brought this to me sooner. It's okay, we can get this all now. Just figure out what exactly the situation is, because that is concerning to me too, now that you brought that up. Yeah. Because I do think the whole. Yeah, that's an issue.
Because I think, going forward for like every cabinet member having a report on their part will at ease like all the council members to understand, okay, finance is doing this. I know we had Aaron talk about grants in some of our meetings too, but it would be really nice to have like a basic of a once a month update from everybody to main council of what's happening, what's going on with their position, and how as council can we approve and help their position out too as well.
I think I'm gathering some data on the finance committee right now. Angela at SGA was compiling our finance committee requests. What was requested and what was approved. Gonna have that number as a differential, so we'll have that as a data point, so we'll know like how much we're underfunding stuff that was asked. But as for the whole bringing people in to every council meeting, I think that's reasonable. I don't see a problem with that. We can go through the bylaws again here and have some time for we'll have time, one last shot at making bylaws better. And if not, we can leave the legislation to the next administration, but I can draft something that basically says, and including all of them. The chair shall deliver a brief report to the council once a month. Or during every council meeting, to see if they have anything to report.
Yeah, because I mean, I understand that things do happen and we are students, so once a while, the vice chair will act in the stead of the main chair, but in a situation whereby a whole academic year and then you come to LSC or even council meetings and you don't get to meet the finance committee every time, it's Eric. It's even safe to assume that Eric is the chair of the finance. It worries me because that's essentially what we are trying to do here, making sure that people are accountable for what they do, but like being Eric all the time, it's kind of worrying to me. I'm sorry, but I think I have to make that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. I will get the whole styles. I will say one thing, the main thing I had Silas do, that he did do, was SMRB. Is really important in guiding you through that. As I said, this whole institutional knowledge of that must be maintained in a way that it's not just based upon some random chance. But yeah, I will get over the Silas and inform him of that. I will include you on the email. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else?
That's all.
Thank you, Wilbur. I hope you have a good night.
You
I
as well.
hope the rest of the committee also has a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure, thanks for attending.
So moving on, because we are running out of time here. This is our last bill that we want to try to pass. This is for the OMA bill. So potentially, if you look at the bylaws, the Constitution bylaws, it doesn't show OMA regulations that we need to post any documents at 72 hours in advance for LLC or any other opening meeting. So in terms of opening meeting, that means that it's public and anyone outside of GPSA can attend. Since it's public record, we are required to post any documents or any agenda within the 72 hours. So it gives people enough chance to read everything here so that if they have any questions, they could do so in the meeting. So I do want I think the biggest concern this semester was just understanding the the bylaws for the OMA. I think you took it. So yeah, Wilfred, do you want to add anything about that before we open to the public?
No, I think you captured it all because we're trying to make sure that everything is consistent with OMA so that we don't run into some problem where, because I have been in GPSA for quite a while now. I mean, yeah, but until this semester, I didn't know anything about OMA. So I think that we don't want to keep people in the dark. So this is just to let people know that, hey, we have something called OMA simply because GPSA gets some sponsorship from the state and we need to work within that framework. So that's basically what this is trying to do. So we are only just changing the timelines to reflect what OMA says. That's all. Thank you.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions about this bill? Any concerns?
No, mine is not a question, just like comments and I just saying that this is my first time also of hearing Omar. You know, when he talked about the Omar bill, I was like, what's Omar again? And when I saw it, I was like, oh, so it means yeah, it's a good one. It's a very good one. And I'm happy you guys brought up this bill and also like key into what the state government is doing. It's a good one. Yeah. Thank
But
you.
me, I was kind of aware though, because I don't know, Eric, if you remember when we have to like put the announcement for finance 72 hours before. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
about I didn't know like part of the Omar
It's
Omar
all those like
celebration.
open meeting things. It's supposed to be like across every public meeting. The
Every
agenda has to
yeah.
be available 72
Yeah,
hours
yeah.
before the meeting.
Yeah, but I don't know that it's called Omar. You know, seriously, the acronym was just
Okay.
so I didn't like called Omar. Yeah,
And see, and
thank
that's
you.
one of the concerns that we had this semester, and I think that because we kept changing so much of a special meetings, it just got tiring to the point where it's like we have to have it in every like any public meeting out there because it's not showing by the GPSA bylaws. I know I had Travis, Wilfred, other people try to do some research about it and there is nothing that shows. So we want to try to at least get back to just get back to the middle here and figure out, okay, if we're required to have this posted 72 hours, this needs to be posted by the bylaws so that it's not confusing for one person, so that the next LSC chair or the next GPSA council chair knows that it's a big rule to follow. So yeah, that's one of the bills that I and Wilfred conducted together. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, so and does anyone want to make a motion to vote on the OMA bill?
I so move.
Awesome. Erica made a motion. Who wants a second? Who wants a second? Okay. Yeah, Wilfred can't second. So anybody else?
I second it.
Okay, perfect. Julie seconds. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Okay, the bill is ready to conduct a manual vote. So Eric,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
perfect. Nada,
Aye.
Rebecca,
Aye.
perfect. Bonziak, Blessing, Travis, Said, Wilfred,
Yes, please.
awesome. 5 votes, the bill has passed, 5 yeses, 0 nays, 0 abstain, 4 people that are absent. Awesome, so I'm gonna pull up the agenda. So, Jared had to leave early, but he said that the stipends have been submitted, and you guys should be getting your guys' stipends. For my officer report, other than this meeting, I think we have one more meeting left before a I don't know if we're gonna have a special meeting, but we might have a special meeting, so please stay tuned. Yes, Rebecca? Rebecca, you have a question?
Yeah, I do. So I wanted to confirm the job, what stipend is Justin talking about council of last semester or this semester?
Can you repeat your question again? I'm so sorry.
So he said, Jared confirmed that the stipend for council, right?
I think it's for this semester.
So what would happen to last semester's one? We've not still heard
Did you
anything
guys
about
still not get your guys' stipends
Nothing.
yet?
We did not. And it feels like nobody has an answer to all the questions that we are asking. The last I heard is that Ryan and Angela said she and Ryan would be going to the office of the scholarship office, something to ask, get information. But everything still looks kind of like there's just a lot of uncertainties. Why did they process for some people and some didn't get theirs processed? Why is it taking forever? This stipend was paid on the 15th of November. This is about 4 months after. And then nobody has answers to why the stipend wasn't. And if GPSA's money had already gone to, or if they've already removed it from GPSA's account, where is the money hanging? Or if the money is still at GPSA's office or account rather, why are they not like distributing it or dispensing it or disbursing it to the people that needs to get their stipend?
I'm probably going to have to go to the scholarship office and probably demand them if they can come to the main council meeting, so that more voices can be heard. Because honestly, at this
I don't
point,
know if like you are like, so it's Angela's office that submitted it. So if anybody is going to request information, they are the one that submitted it to the scholarship office. So it's either they're able to like question what is happening, find the information, and then tell us what is happening there. Like, okay, this is the problem they are having. These are the steps they are taking to resolve the issue.
yeah,
But everybody, there is no information. Nobody is saying anything.
No, and that's the annoying part about this whole thing. It's ridiculous though. And Jared has been upset about this because he doesn't know what to do. And I know for finance tomorrow, because we have a meeting tomorrow, Angela and Carl's gonna be there. And so I think Eric and we could ask tomorrow and see what's going on, and probably request Angela and Carl to email the council to give us an update. And if they even say that they don't have any word, just to let us know, because I think this is ridiculous. But also I would do my part and go to the office that myself and talk to them. I think that was one of the big things that I really wanted to do, because I honestly thought you guys would get your guys' stipends by now.
Yeah, thank you for helping. Like, what is really upsetting me is just this lack of information. Like, what is the issue? Let us know. You can't just keep us in the dark, and nobody is saying anything as to what the issue exactly is. And I would not be this mad if some other people didn't get the stipend. If you send 10 people's name and maybe 5, 6 people got, what happened to the other 4 people? And then nobody's
Exactly.
taking any action. So what should happen to these other 4 people? Why were theirs not processed? There are a lot of questions to be answered.
Yeah, and as the LSC chair, I think that since it's I'm like Jared and I we're gonna try to do is push more because this is ridiculous. And if I was to be council chair next year, my main focus in the summer is to we build the relationship with the scholarship department and figure out really what are the techniques to try to get your guys' money in, because we never had a problem before last term, last semester, not last semester, but last year. And this is happening this year. And if they're changing systems or whatever, they should let us know instead of keeping us in the dark. So I will talk to them. I'm gonna try to come to campus tomorrow early in the morning and go over there, or even set up a meeting with them by Monday, so that by Saturday at least one of the chairs can come to our meeting and explain what is going on, what's happening, and give us like an update, because it's they should not be leaving us in the dark. It's not right, and it's not fair. And I do want you guys to get your guys' stipends. I see Eric had a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in on what Rebecca said. You see, the thing is this: I've already to my faith that we're not going to get this money anymore, because I remember when I spoke with Carl about it, he told me that he has done all he can do and there's nothing else he can do. So the way he sounded, he gave me this impression that, man, nothing else to do, and maybe we may not get this money anymore. So I think, Rebecca.
So are they saying that the money is hanging in the air, or there is no money to pay? What is the issue?
I don't know where the money is. Whether it's in the
You
air, in
say
someone's
that you
pocket.
don't know what to do. They should tell us
Already,
this is the problem. What is the problem? We don't know.
It's true
the
that
problem
Angela,
though is that we did
anymore.
add we did. So for instance, there was a deficit that we had to deal with last semester, the beginning of the semester, where we passed a bill, we passed an appropriation to fund $2,000 for other people that were in council, to fund them for this semester and next semester. So that was the big deal. That was the big thing. But all the funds that were budgeted have already been recorded, and it's already been it's ready to the money's there. So it is somewhere. It is somewhere. Why my question to the scholarship people is, where are since we've already sent out the money to them, why are they withholding the money to give to you guys? Is there another form that we need to sign? So there is a miscommunication barrier that's been happening, and that's been the biggest thing over this whole year, is miscommunication. So if we have to, I will have to just storm in instead of sending them an email if email is not working. Because it's again, I don't want to repeat my words, but this is ridiculous and stupid, and I do want to make sure that you guys get your guys' funds, especially these funds for this semester, on time. Since Jared submitted the form, I don't know if you guys are probably gonna get the scholarship fund in one big payment, but still they should send us an email or something letting us know that you guys are gonna be receiving it in one payment, and this is the date that you guys receive it. Will we receive it at? So I will do my best, and I will give you guys an update by on the 30th of what I discovered, and if they're gonna do anything, and hopefully if I can try to get them to come to the meeting in person or on Zoom.
Yeah, I think that would be good for you to like,
Thank you,
get them
Ansley.
to attend the meeting. And
They
by the
have
time,
to.
you know, they'll be able to like, okay, this is the problem, or this has been the problem, and try to rectify it, because it's quite
Well,
annoying.
And they
But
shouldn't come. They shouldn't come to the meeting to tell us, oh, we sent it to the scholarship office, we don't know what is happening. I don't want to hear that.
No,
Yeah.
Because you don't.
We should call the scholarship people, not even
That's
Angela.
the thing. I'd ask them, do we need to contact them by ourselves? They said we don't need to do anything. I'd ask them. I'd ask Carl. They said we don't need to do anything. Do you understand? So they're more like they are the middleman, and then you are the middleman, and you have no information as to what the problem is.
So I think Ansley, please, if you can, communicate to the scholarship guys.
I'm gonna do
know,
my like I said, I would do my best tomorrow to even go over here. Like I would be coming to campus tomorrow because I know we have finance meeting. I will go over there tomorrow. If no one's there, then I'll go on Monday to like schedule a meeting and talk to at least one of the representatives that are there and
Are you
see.
still recording?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it has to be part of.
Yeah, it has to be part of it. So, and see exactly. So yeah, if I have any questions or if you guys want to come, if let's just say I have a meeting on Monday and anyone want to come over to the meeting with me on Monday or Tuesday, let me know. I would love to put you guys in so that you can get your word out and say like this is what's happening and I don't see it there, and show them like I don't see the funds from there.
Honestly, I don't mind joining you on Monday, right? Whenever you're ready to go on Monday, just let me know. I'll join you for us to go see them. Okay, I'm ready to do that, please.
Perfect. Awesome. Then I'll write that down. Okay, so going over just other finance, I would just explain finance because we're running out of time. We did host a budget hearing for finance. We did it really fast. We were able to get it done within 1 day. I don't know the full numbers of everything, but hopefully if we can try to get Silas to explain in the main council meeting. Yeah, it was a good turnout. Sustainability, Travis, I haven't heard anything from him. But hopefully he will let us know on the main council. All the bills have all passed. Our next upcoming meeting is going to be our regular council meeting on the 30th at 10 a.m. on Zoom. Other than that, does anyone else have any questions or anything they want to add before we adjourn? Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Okay, perfect. Eric just made a motion to adjourn. Who wants to second that?
Wilfred second. Yes.
Perfect. Wilfred seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, so the meeting is adjourned at 8:34. We'll see you guys on the our next meeting, April 28th. Oh no, April 8th, 2024. Let's all try to meet in person just in case, because it will be a lot easier if everybody's in person to try to pass all the amendments. It will be easier. And remember, we need to have 5 people or more in order for us to make quorum. That's everything for me. Awesome. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ansley. So, Ansley.
Yes.
So just let me know when, what time will you be going to that scholarship office on Monday?
I want to go. Let me stop recording.